Anne walks through the abandoned streets and crumbling buildings in a hazmat suit. She breaks a lock to enter the county library, grabs a few books, and silences the timer on her suit as it goes off. She pushes her cart loaded with items back along the road and up through the mountains. As she reaches a hill, her dog, Pharaoh, runs to greet her. She removes her mask, exhausted and weary. Back at her house, she washes and scrubs herself thoroughly. That night, she sleeps alone and invites Pharaoh to join her on the bed. The next day, she wraps chains around the fences on the property, suggesting that she leads a solitary life. She has dinner alone, talking only to her dog.
Want me to make a play again?
The following morning, she walks through the woods with Pharaoh, observing trail markers. She spots an abandoned wagon left on the road. Her dog runs toward it, and after she follows, Pharaoh sees someone at the street corner. They hide in the woods and observe a man in a hazmat suit pulling the wagon behind him. Anne and Pharaoh follow him from a distance, watching as he walks along the road. He suddenly stops, removes his hazmat suit, and shouts in relief. Pharaoh runs, following him into the woods, and Anne goes after him. She tracks the man to a waterfall, where she sees him standing in the water. She approaches him cautiously and warns him to get out. Startled, he points a gun in her direction and fires a warning shot. He demands to know where the others are, and she replies that she's alone, warning him, saying the water comes from outside the valley.
You just need to get out of the water, please.
Panicked, he scrambles out of the water and returns to his cart. He grabs a needle and tries to inject himself, but his hands are unsteady. He asks Anne to do it for him. She does, and he explains he takes the medicine daily, though he says he probably won't make it anyway. She offers to bring his wagon up to the house to give him food. He tells her to burn his clothes and his body if he dies.
And my body too if I die.
He introduces himself as John, and she tells him her name is Anne. She collects water from his cart and helps him bathe, scrubbing his skin with a brush while apologizing for the roughness.
I'm real sorry.
At her house, she helps him up the stairs and lays him down on the bed. The next day, she goes through his wagon and finds a photo of him with a woman, then puts it back. She monitors his temperature, brings him supplies, and feeds him broth in bed.
Doing good.
At night, she hears a noise and checks on him. He's shivering, so she places a towel on his forehead. In the morning, she checks his pulse and gives him another injection. She kneels beside his bed and prays to God, saying she'll serve the Lord if he saves him. She goes into the chapel to worship.
I can stay here and healthy.
Anne continues her daily routines. John stirs in bed while she milks the cow and hangs laundry. Later, she helps him outside. She tells him her father always said they were blessed by the valley and that they had to keep the farm running. He speculates that the weather patterns might be responsible and that the ridge may act as a natural barrier from the radiation. He asks why she's alone. She explains that her family left to find survivors, and her brother David was supposed to stay with her, but snuck away 2 weeks later to search for them. When she shows him a picture of her 14-year-old brother, John apologizes. She gives him a brief hug and walks back inside. He looks at the photo again, appearing uneasy. Later, he slowly walks down the hallway to find the room lit with candles. He enters his room, and she wishes him good night.
Matt.
Matt.
He watches her through the window as she works in the garden. He visits the library, flipping through a Bible dictionary before returning it to the shelf. He sits at a desk and begins taking notes from another book. Walking out to the field, he tells her he doesn't mean to work, just to watch. She tells him he shouldn't be outside in his condition. When he asks about the field, she explains it's meant for soybeans, but she needs to clear the rocks first. He asks why she doesn't use the truck. She tells him she ran out of gas last year, and the store pumps don't work without electricity. He says she can pump fuel manually.
Electricity.
You can get it to work manually.
Anne goes to the gas pump and follows instructions from some notes to get it working. She hooks up a jug, and fuel begins to flow. Excited, she jumps and shouts that it worked while he looks through the scope of a rifle. That night, she asks if he saw her jumping around. He replies that it looked weird through the scope of the rifle. He joins her at the table.
Oh, I always keep it loaded. It's got a great scope on it, doesn't it?
Before eating, she prays while he waits awkwardly. She says there's a lot to be thankful for and asks if he was up north when the disaster began. He tells her he was in a government bunker working as a research engineer. She's impressed that he's a scientist. He admits he helped design the suit he was wearing, which is why he survived as long as he did, though the suits weren't made for long-term use. He says that.
They weren't supposed to be used long-term. Oh, it's beat up now, damn it.
She asks why he left the bunker. He says what he wanted in life wasn't there. When she wonders if he left to find his wife, he seems confused. She tells him she saw a photo. He says it was just someone from a long time ago. He tells her he was searching for a place like this without knowing it even existed.
Honestly, what I think I was looking for was a place like this.
She fishes and swims in the pond while he cooks the fish by the edge. They eat the fish together. She says the water comes from the same underground source as the well, something her dad once explained. John agrees. She mentions how she almost starved and froze during the winter. She expresses her wish that the generator was running so they could freeze fish for the upcoming one. He's surprised to learn there's a generator.
Just wish the generator hadn't broken, you know?
John checks the generator and says the engine is fried. She blames herself, but he tells her it's just old. She jokingly suggests a solution, and he agrees.
It's a good idea. Come on.
They drive to the waterfall, and he comes up with a plan to build a hydroelectric power system. She worries about radiation, but he reassures her that it's fine.
Wait, it doesn't matter that the water's radioactive?
Not at all.
Back at the farm, he suggests tearing down the chapel for materials to build the water wheel. She refuses. Her father built the church and preached there. She says they survived because of the Lord. John looks disappointed but suggests it might be there for them to get electricity and could help them store food for more than just them. She replies that they keep the chapel in that case. He tells her that isn't what he meant.
Maybe God put this here for us.
That night, Pharaoh growls near the door. Anne notices some eggs missing when she gathers them the next day. She works the field, and when John insists they stop for the day, she insists on finishing alone, telling him that she'll see him in a while.
I think I need to finish this. You go on up to the house and rest.
He walks to the store and goes inside. Later, she finds him drunk inside. In his room, she tries to help him remove his shoes, but he shouts that he doesn't need help and pins her against the wall. She quickly leaves. The next morning, he tries to apologize, and she says it's okay. At the chapel, she sees a shadow while playing the piano. She later asks John if he wants her to stop playing. He looks confused. She sets the dinner table and they share wine, then dance together and kiss. She takes off her clothes in his bedroom, but he stops her. He tells her it would change things and that they have time. He says he wants her to stay when she's about to leave, and she agrees.
I want you to stay. I want you to stay with me.
In the garage, he tells her about ongoing projects. Later, Pharaoh leads her out of the woods, where they find a man on a hill. He asks for water, saying he means no harm. He introduces himself as Caleb.
All I'd ask you for is a glass of water if you know where to find one.
Back at the house, John comes out with a rifle. Anne assures him it's okay. Caleb apologizes for stealing an egg and explains that other people weren't welcoming. He says he was in a mine when the radiation hit and only came out when food ran low. John warns that he picked up some radiation and offers to help him recover before heading south. Caleb agrees, expressing gratitude.
Should probably rest up a couple days.
I appreciate that.
Anne and John discuss Caleb's stay. Anne brings his bag inside and they share a meal on the porch. Anne and Caleb pray while John remains quiet. During dinner, John shares a story about a sick boy he encountered, one who stole food from his wagon and begged to be killed. John left him to die. Caleb admits that he was with 4 other men in the mine, but a fight broke out and he was the only survivor. Anne expresses sympathy.
They ripped each other to shreds, just using their hands.
She shows Caleb to his room. John later tells Anne he's uneasy about Caleb. She opens up about her experience after her family left. John then confesses that he killed the sick boy, who might have been her brother due to the resemblance. She quietly says it's okay.
It's okay.
Anne drives the tractor while John shows Caleb around the farm. They talk about Caleb's plan to head south. While hunting turkeys, John tells Caleb about the hydroelectric idea. Caleb asks why it hasn't been done yet, and John explains Anne's attachment to the chapel. They shoot a turkey and bring it back. At dinner, John carves the turkey. When Caleb brings up building the water wheel again, Anne agrees to it.
I guess it's the only way.
Yeah.
Together, they dismantle the chapel and start building the water wheel. John notices Anne and Caleb growing closer. They run power lines from the waterfall to the house using the tractor. Caleb suggests putting a tarp over the organ. On a walk, they talk about faith. Anne asks how Caleb was okay tearing down the chapel if he believes. He replies that the place was holy because of her, and that can't be taken down. He tells her that belief is the only way she'll survive.
But it was us believers, don't you think?
They return to find John has built the wheel's frame. That night, John tells Anne she's free to explore something with Caleb. She tries to protest, but he rudely insists.
Well, I'm not gonna stand in your way, is what I'm saying, okay?
On another day, Anne asks if he believes Caleb's claim about a town in Anson. John says he doesn't think it's possible. They place the wheel in the creek and start setting it up. That evening, the three of them celebrate with wine and games. They dance together until John steps aside, leaving Anne and Caleb to dance alone. At the pond, they play a game to retrieve a bottle John tossed into the water. Anne and Caleb take turns diving. They decide to head back. On the walk home, John tells Anne he loves her. Later, she goes into his bedroom, seemingly seeking connection, but he doesn't wake. She joins Caleb in the adjoining bathroom, and they get intimate. The next morning, Caleb enters while John cooks breakfast. After some tension, they talk about finishing the water wheel. Caleb agrees to help.
I need to put the finishing touches on the wheel.
While working, John tells Caleb that he told Anne to do what it takes to keep him around. Caleb accuses John of being jealous and doesn't believe the lie. John asks about Anson, and Caleb replies there may be nothing there like John claims.
Like you said, there's probably nothing down there anyway.
They set up the wheel. Caleb slips twice while being pulled up by John. During the second slip, both men lock eyes as they hold the rope while Caleb teeters on the edge. John later returns to the house alone. Anne apologizes for everything that happened. John claims Caleb left for Anson, taking the safe suit, and said that she could have his things.
Said you were welcome to anything of his.
Upset, Anne runs into the hills to look for Caleb but finds no sign of him. John walks in the broken-down chapel. He works on restoring the electricity. Anne delights when she notices the fridge and lamp lights are working. She rushes to find John and heads to the barn. Inside, she finds the organ and some church items. She sits and plays a hymn. John enters and sits behind her on the pew, smiling quietly as she continues to play.